So God says humanity is his prized possession, right? He creates us with his image. He gives us his image. He gives us a vocation. God trusts us. And sin separates us from our very nature. Our nature has never been robotic. Our nature, that sin separated us from God and from the relationship that we have with God. But sin separates us from our truest selves, the humanity that God created in friendship and fellowship, the humanity that God trusted to name a thing, the humanity that God trusted with humanity's input. Why? Because because God's nice. He's not like us. I don't know. Also because God, when God created us, he created us with this purpose and this faith in us. I don't know. He's good. He creates good. He's like, yo, I trust good. Good is good. Only we be like, I don't know if good is really good. But God creates us with purpose, and he trusts that. What was I saying? So humanity, no, humanity is humanity, and sin distorts our humanity. So we can chase down all kinds of sins and blah 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 blah. And sin matters. It's not like I'm gonna dumb down sin, but the greatest sin ever, the greatest result of sin is sin causing us not to know who we are. We lost ourselves. We lost our identity in sin, right? And when we come to Christ, we believe again. We we take back up something, the vocation that I taught about. We take back up the glory, huh? We take back up the wisdom. We connect back to the Creator, like we were doing in the garden before the fall, because God was wanting to do something. God was sharing. God was mentoring. God was just being a friend. Like, you grow relationships. That's how they are. You grow with people. Obviously, God is the parental. You understand what I'm trying to say? In God describes himself as parent. He describes himself as husband and teacher or whatever. So we get that it's something that we can learn. Like, it's like he's the one that will teach us, but he teaches us in love. Right? And so there's so many things that I can say about that in every relationship, whether it's your marriage or whether it's parenting. Because when you really consider, when you reflect on what relationships truly are, they're teachable experiences. Your children teach you so much about life, about yourself, about God. So does your husband, and whatever. So the church has this, and it's been going on forever and ever and ever, from the church fathers, not quite knowing where to put ourselves as Christians, as people. Um, what's his name? Aristotle and Socrates and what was the other one name? I don't remember. Start with a P, right? I don't know. But like, they were of the mindset that the body's not good. Nothing good can ever come from us. And it sounds good, and it sounds like something you almost would want to follow and get down with, because you're like, yeah, I suck. Not like I suck, but you look at the world around you and you're like, this can't be it, honey. But this is why knowing what God says is so much more important, because God is saying something completely different, honey. Right there in Genesis 1:28, God is saying something else about who we are. And when Jesus comes, he's like the perfect representation of that difference. He's living in a world, and he sees so much hope and so much potential in the world. And then he doesn't just see it, he doesn't just dream it, he doesn't just talk about it, but his very desire is to make it how he sees it. You know what I mean? So he sees brokenness, and he's like, that's not what it's supposed to be. So he produces wholeness, he heals, he's kind, He uplifts. He tumbles, honey. Okay? While he's lifting up one, he's tumbling something else. He's tumbling the darkness. He's tumbling the pseudo. This ain't how it's supposed to be. So he tumbles that and he's rising up the kingdom. And his desires were Jesus was an ancient Palestinian Jewish man, and he was he lived in a time where he believed a certain way, you know what I'm trying to say, yet he was so different in his thinking from his counterparts, from everybody. Why? Because he didn't just adhere to that. He went further and sought out what does the Father say. Does it make sense? And so his own desires became because like Jesus was living in a time where the Romans had conquered his people. Every Jew wanted to see themselves free. They wanted to see the Romans overthrown and the Jews back in position with their holy king after the Davidic line. That's what every Jew wanted to see. They were working their farms and whatever it produced, they didn't even get to eat off of that. You know what I'm saying? They had to pay taxes and whatever. So he was in a time where he had thoughts and feelings. You understand what I'm trying to say? Yet when he went out, he was not a zealot. He did not grab the sword. I don't know if I'm making sense. His desire was to see his people free. His desire was to see his nation not be a nation of bondage. His desire was to see the people group that he was assigned to, that he, you know, that's who he was, his very nature. He desired to see them free. Okay? So many people in his time had that exact same desire. But it's how they went about doing it. So he goes about doing good in the name of a God that made a promise to a people that he hung on to and believed. You had Barabbas. He said, I'm going to go out because my God, he was hanging on to what he believed his God said too. But his interpretation of Torah and the writings and all that was kill them all. Kill them all in the name of our God. And so desire is something that's just like, you could either use the wisdom of God and pursue your desires, or you can just pursue your desires based on what you see. Well, I'm looking out here and things look real bad for us. So I'm thinking the only way I can ever do anything about it is to kill them all, you know? And Jesus says, my desire is to see my people free. I'm hanging on to the promises of God, the beliefs, the promises that they've been promising from way back when. And I'm going to trust the Lord with them. And the Lord produced the desires of Jesus's heart in the way that was fitting and benefiting to everybody. And of course, we know it was a plan of God all along, but you use any situation and that's the result you're going to get. If you seek God's wisdom and if you allow God to forge your desires, it's not even something that I don't know if you have to pray like, oh God, like I think you just get in God's presence and just begin to learn about who he is. In doing so, you're going to learn about who you are. It goes hand in hand. You learn about the God of the Bible, something something is revealed to you about who you are. These stories that you're reading about these ancient people, you're realizing this is my story. This sounds a lot like me. You're gleaning, you're learning, you're getting godly wisdom. You pray, you seek God's face, you're gonna get godly wisdom. You're worshiping God. You're gonna get godly wisdom because you're in tuned. And God is not like always trying to get you to find him. He's not like running and hiding from us. He's so near, he's so close, he's so wanting to give. He was meeting with Adam and Eve in the cool of the day. He was teaching. That's what he does. He was fellowshipping. You know what I'm trying to say? Sometimes you learn from people and they're not even like the professor with a, no, you're just kicking it with them and you're learning so much from them. I think that's the way of life. I think that's one of the ways that we learn. And so what you want to do is you want to get around some folks who are good and who are saying what God is saying. And so I just want to encourage everybody to read these scriptures and um, put a hold on your desires just for momentarily. I'll listen. It's it's not going to be where it's so different, you know, from what you were hoping or you were already pursuing. You know, sometimes we just get up hot, and we just go, and we just do, all in the name of whatever, self. Sometimes we say it's God, you know, sometimes we say the Lord is, you know, but it ain't, you know. The ways, I remember feeling so afraid to just trust God with certain things because I was afraid to be disappointed or let down, same thing, or told no, or, and it's so weird that we bring that kind of like apprehension to the God who cares about us so much. And so I knew right away that I had a problem with recognizing truly who the God of the Bible was. And he was telling me, um, that ain't me. Like, you learned of a God that behaves that way, but I'm telling you that's not how I am. And I need you, if you are to come in a little closer, we gonna have to start over in some areas. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I had to learn who God truly was based on what the scriptures were saying, based on what um, he was revealing in those very moments. And my desires, some of them shifted completely. Most of them, they remained. I am who I am. I desire what I desire, but it's just so much more fitting to my purpose. It's so much more fit. They make a lot more sense now, and I never feel at odds. I never feel like a tug. I just feel like what I'm doing, the Lord is like, yeah, let's go. Because I've spent so much time with him, gleaning and learning his wisdom. And now it's like, sometimes it makes it so much clearer what the will of God is, because you've learned, somebody, like if I go shopping and blah, 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 I see a shirt, I'm like, Kirby's gonna hate that. He's not gonna like that. I know him. I know what he'll wear and what he won't wear. You know what I'm trying to say? If somebody's bringing something out and like, oh, these are delicious, blah, 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 like, what's in that? Nah, he don't. I know he don't, because I've been with him long enough. I know what he likes. I know what he's into. And so it becomes so much more easier to understand the will of God and to um to to just forge new ideas. You get what I'm trying to say? And I'm sorry, y'all just getting this raw. I just be sitting here thinking, honey. But listen, if I could encourage you in any way, let your desires be saturated in godly wisdom. And so I guess I like to say it the other way: seek the wisdom of God and let the desires flow out of that place. It's gonna be good for you, and it's gonna be good for kingdom, and it's gonna be good for the world. It's gonna be good for everybody. Everybody's gonna benefit from the things that you desire when those things are saturated in God's wisdom and in his truth